Is the Seattle Mariners' third base platoon legit? Let's talk about it. So with the return of Eugenio Suarez to T-Mobile Park this weekend, it kind of got my mind thinking about, how can we compare our third base platoon to Eugenio Suarez, who we would have had at third base, or even possibly Matt Chapman. And I just want to preface this video with two things. One being, I absolutely love Gino. It was great to see him back and just see the connections that he has with all the guys. And two is that it is still early in the season. We're only 28 games in, but still, I think this is very valuable to look at, especially when I show you in terms of how I put it together for you guys in terms of comparing Luis Urias, Josh Rojas to Eugenio Suarez and Matt Chapman. So as we know, Josh Rojas and Luis Urias has really exceeded our expectations so far leading up to this point. And again, I just want to go through this video and kind of compare guys that could have been our third baseman to how these two are doing so far. So let's start off with contract details. So Matt Chapman going into this year will be making $18 million this year. He signed a 3-year, $54 million contract with the San Francisco Giants, while Eugenio Suarez will be making roughly $11.3 million in 2024. So yes, pretty big contracts for those guys, but they are very good players and they have earned that over time. But Josh Rojas is only on a 1-year, $3.1 million deal, and Luis Urias is only on a 1-year, $5 million deal. So combined at $8.1 million for these two, they don't even equal Eugenio Suarez's contract. So Matt Chapman is making over 2 times the amount of money that Josh Rojas and Luis Urias are making this season. So when I kind of show you these stats so far, you're kind of going to be shocked. While there was definitely a group of you that didn't want anything to do with Matt Chapman, and I totally understand why, you can kind of see why in these statistics, why the inconsistency is just really hard to be able to put $18 million a year down for. One little sidebar before I go into the chart comparing all of their stats so far. In terms of fielding stats, I know they aren't super important, but Matt Chapman currently has 3 errors himself this year. Gino currently has 3 errors himself this year, and then Josh Rojas and Luis Urias combined have 3 errors as well. So pretty even across the board in terms of fielding stats. Like I said, there's really not too many details we can go in terms of fielding stats to really compare the 3 or even the 4. So like I said, Josh Rojas and Luis Urias have the same number of errors that Gino and Matt Chapman have, so really nothing to compare too much there. But now let's get into the juicy stuff. So one thing to take into consideration when looking at these stats is since Josh Rojas and Luis Urias are a platoon, they do not have the same number of at-bats that Chapman and Gino have. I think Matt Chapman has 120 ABs while Gino has 118. And the max is, I think Josh Rojas has 77 and Luis Urias has 33. So again, the sample size is technically a little off, but again, combined, you're going to see a massive difference. So here is the chart on your screen. So we have Josh Rojas, Luis Urias, Gino, and Matt Chapman, and we're going to go through WRC+, WAR, home runs, batting average, and strikeout percentage. So starting off with WRC+, Josh Rojas has the highest out of all 4 guys with a 158. And then you have Luis Urias, who has the second highest with a 133. Gino, who has an 81 WRC plus this year, and Matt Chapman, who has an 84 WRC plus. So in terms of WRC plus, it's really not even close. Matt Chapman and Gino are very close, but in terms of what the platoon has done versus what these 2 other guys have done, the WRC plus doesn't even compare. Now moving on to the wins above replacement. Josh Rojas again leads in that category with a .8 WAR. Luis Urias is tied with Matt Chapman for a .3 WAR, and Gino unfortunately has the lowest at a .1. So to me, it's just very interesting that a guy making a little over $11 million and a guy making over $18 million this season have a similar, if not worse, WAR than a guy that is making $5 million this year and who doesn't even really play that much. And again, Josh Rojas is just having a great year, so he is dominating in that category as well. Now, in terms of home runs, again, this is a very interesting category because it's not going to be too drastic unless, you're talking about guys like Mike Trout. But Josh Rojas is second with 3 home runs. Gino and Luis Urias are tied at 2 home runs this season. And then Matt Chapman has 4, which is leading the 4 players. But again, nothing really drastic there. I mean, nothing crazy, especially from a third baseman. You really want the guy to have pop. But I mean, these guys are kind of just right in the middle of the pack in terms of home runs, not too much juice. And that was kind of the concern with Gino, at least for some people, was that he was really losing that bat speed and losing that power that he used to have, especially his whole career. But again, very early sample size, but for 120 ABs for Gino to only have 2 home runs, that's very unlike him. Now moving into batting average. So Josh Rojas again dominates this with 297 batting average. Luis Urias has the worst at a 179. Gino has the second best at a 229, and then Matt Chapman has the third best at a 221. So again, nothing too crazy that stands out here, except Josh Rojas is hitting very, very well, as me personally, I expected from him, but Gino's hitting about where he usually hits, anywhere from that 220 to 240 range. Matt Chapman, again, kind of similar. He hasn't really hit for high average in a while. And then Luis Urias is hopefully going to improve and not keep that number as low, but right now his batting average is pretty low, and that is due to his high strikeouts as well. So moving right into the strikeout percentage, Josh Rojas has the best strikeout percentage out of the guys with a 16.7%. Luis Urias has the worst at a 36.4%. Gino has a 28% strikeout rate, and then Matt Chapman has a 25% strikeout rate. So again, with this platoon, we kind of have the best of both worlds, because Josh Rojas is not a strikeout guy, but Luis Urias tends to be. So we kind of have a little bit of both, which is good, because if they were both high strikeout guys, these numbers probably wouldn't be as good as they are. Gino has improved his strikeout rate a little bit. He's down, I think, 3% this year from what he was last year. Again, it's very early, but still a good improvement for him. And then Matt Chapman is right around where he usually is, kind of strikes out about a fourth of the time. But to me, I kind of just want to visualize this for you guys to really see that this platoon is working way better than any of us thought it would have. Again, Luis Urias, his bat isn't necessarily where we want it to be, but he's still producing a very high WRC plus and WAR for only playing in the minimal amount of games that he has. And I've always said that Josh Rojas has been very, very comfortable in a Mariners uniform. He literally has not hit leadoff for us one time since being with us, and then JP gets hurt. He comes in the Diamondback series, hits leadoff, and has 2 leadoff home runs in 2 of the 3 games, which is just super impressive and just kind of shows that confidence that he has in himself and how comfortable he is playing in Seattle. While it could have been driven by the fact that he was playing his former team, it still was very impressive nonetheless. So in terms of whether or not these numbers will stay this way, 100 games into the season, I don't necessarily think they will be this high in terms of the Mariners platoon dominating this much. But I do think that this platoon does have a lot of potential, especially Josh Rojas. Like I said, he has impressed me ever since he's come here as a Mariner. And he's definitely feeling his power swing a little bit. He already has 3 home runs, again, in 27 or 28 games now, which is very good for him. He's not a very big power guy, but if he can put up 12 to 15 home runs this year, that would be awesome. And then as well as Luis Urias, who does have pretty good power, if he could put up anywhere from 12 to 15, we'll be in very good shape. Now, don't get me started with the rest of this offense. I'm going to have to save that for another video. But again, they are winning series. They have won their 4th series in a row, and they have a very tough series against the Atlanta Braves coming up. But this platoon has done very, very well, and we do have some guys that really just need to pick it up offensively overall. And our pitching has been absolutely dominant, which is great to see. Otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy this video and got to learn a little bit more of how good this platoon has really been so far. But otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.